So spirituality can often be used as a way of avoiding ourselves. The idea that the spiritual path will lead to some state of nirvana, some state of unending bliss or unending joy or unending happiness. The idea that it may lead to some kind of higher state of consciousness. Some kind of spiritual development that makes us something more than we already are. Something that we don't yet know, but have a strong yearning for, as if it would solve all our problems. All these ideas are an erroneous direction of attention that lead us further away from living fully awake. That lead us further away from where our attention really needs to be. To live fully awake demands that we look at, that we face ourselves completely. Every part, everything that we've tucked into the shadows, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Everything. Everything that we run away from. Everything that we try to cover up in subtle and not so subtle ways. We employ a whole army of strategies. In our minds, in our feelings, in our dreams, in our hopes, and in our actions, our behaviors. To run away from the horror that we might not be good enough. We'll do anything to stand naked and really see and really face and really meet and really sit inside ourselves. Without condition. We turn away from facing, from meeting, from fully being with shame and regret and loss and unworthiness. And yet, there's such a tendency to carry our woundedness, some kind of woundedness, like a badge. That if only I wasn't so wounded, then I would be free. If only I wasn't so wounded, then I could really face myself. If only I could fix this woundedness, get rid of it, heal it, then I could really be with myself. But the demand of the true spiritual path is to have the courage to be absolutely honest with your experience, to turn away from nothing, to run away from nothing, to hide from nothing. To tell the truth to yourself, to expose yourself to yourself, without a story of woundedness, without a story of poor me, without a story of being the victim. Just the bare facts, the bare bones. This brings us to a place of immense vulnerability. A vulnerability that we can spend a lifetime running away from. But this vulnerability is the doorway to openness, to truth. You know, we embark on the spiritual path in the search for truth. But the truth is inside, in meeting who you are, in telling the truth to yourself. It's an openness and an honesty that is the doorway to knowing yourself and knowing the world, knowing life, knowing existence as essentially good, as essentially whole. That there is ultimately nothing that can hurt you but the projections of your own mind. To meet the world, to meet your reality, to meet your experience, without being somebody. Without carrying the cloak of a role. To meet reality as emptiness means that you become very intimate with what is. You become very tender towards what is. It's both tender and courageous. It's courageous because you face what scares you. And what scares you is never really anything in the external world. But your own intensity or darkness or unwantedness of how you feel about something, how you feel about your experience. That's what's so scary. We don't want to feel broken. We don't want to feel loss. We don't want to feel helpless. We don't want to feel anything that we consider to be dark, unwanted, not good enough, not special enough, not spiritual enough. But unless we face all of that and tell the truth to ourselves, then the true goodness, the true light, the true wholeness that is inside all of that, inside and beneath and beyond, cannot reveal itself. I had a long conversation yesterday or a couple of days ago with somebody who was adamant that the way to enlightenment, the way to freedom, the way to self-realization was to keep on asking the question, who am I? But as he spoke to me, all I could hear was somebody banging his head against the wall over and over again. And the door wasn't opening. There was an unwillingness to turn direction, to rest within, to be with the dirt of the human experience as it arose. The anger, the irritation, the impatience, the justification. Everything that was bothering him, a burden, and yet not met, not turned towards, not open to, just a wanting to jump over all of that and to follow an idea that who am I is the only way. To find freedom. That somehow if we could understand the nature of self in some way that the mind can package, and then file away, as I found it now, I've understood it now, that somehow, if only we could find the answer to that, then the rest of the human mess, called human experience, would somehow be wiped away. But to live awake is not an experience, it's not an understanding. It's not a state of consciousness. To live awake is to be undefended towards your own experience. All of it. To have no strategies of avoidance. To have no strategies of self-protection. To have no strategies of holding on to who or what you think you are, as good or bad, as happy or sad. As lucky or unlucky. As disempowered or empowered, as a victim or a victor. But to meet everything without any cover-up at all. It's a ruthless honesty that dismantles everything that is false, everything that is in the imagination about yourself, about the world, about life. You don't have to trust yourself, to be honest. You don't have to feel safe about where you're going to land. So falling and living, responding from the unknown as the unknown. Brings a great lightness to your experience. Brings a great lightness to the burden of being human.